how come, for lack of a better word, TikTok was able to kind of sneak by under everyone's noses at that point? Like I can remember because February 2019 is when I heard about it for the first time when I was recording a podcast at VaynerMedia. Someone mentioned TikTok and how much they were using it, and I had kind of shrugged it off as just the other Musically. And then I even remember later on that year seeing like there was TikTokers on tour going like city to city, and fans were showing up for this, but like still no one was talking about it. So why was it able to kind of just slip by undetected for so long?
Because we discredit teenagers' ability to identify cool things. Like I think this is kind of a fundamental issue that I hope people are starting to recognize the folly of. Like, we think that teenagers are unimportant somehow, and they're not, because like they are. If you think of it from a business point of view, they are the biggest, most disposable income spending consumers. If you think about it from a cultural point of view, they are the tastemakers. They always have been the people that kind of discern what is cool and what isn't. If you think about it from like a career perspective, the things that shape teenagers' tastes and viewpoints of the world now are going to be the things that shape everybody's viewpoint in 20 years, because somewhere the president of the United States in 2050 is out there on TikTok right now or something like that. But we discredit it because they're teenagers, and like I'm getting too old to legitimately interview teenagers without it seeming creepy. I think because I'm a man, I have less of that sort of window of opportunity to do that. Um, and so, like, sooner or later, I'm going to age out of this. But like, we do a huge discredit by not paying attention to these people. Like, I did a story for Wired, a big feature story, maybe in like 2017, where I just interviewed like 5 or 6 school kids about like, what apps are you using? Like, what is interesting? And loads of those were like apps that we use now every day. Um, they're great arbiters of taste. I think we overlook that because we think they're teenagers. What do they know? Turned out they know quite a lot.
Do you think that what so why was it about TikTok? Do you think that drew all these kids to it?
So there's a load of different reasons. I mean, like one of them is that they just spent a shitload of money um, putting ads in front of them. Like that is the thing that people sometimes often overlook. I think with TikTok is that it is backed by ByteDance, which is now a $34 billion company in terms of revenue, and in terms of valuation is like pick any number between 140 or 180 and 500, $600 billion, and a winner is you for that. You can kind of see how much money they spent on acquiring users, but it's also they inherited the user base of Musically, some of whom did not go along, some of whom did go along willingly, some of whom went along unwillingly, but actually ended up sticking on TikTok, even though they were like, I'm never using this garbage app now that you've renamed it. And there's a mention of one person in there, for instance, who I found who forswore using TikTok when it changed from Musically to TikTok, and then actually, if you look, he's posting still on the app, um, which I find fascinating. So they inherited that user base, but then also they acquired a lot more because people talk, and they made it easier than anybody else to dive into something that is hugely addictive, and also to create content if you are so willing in a way that people couldn't. Like, I'm on TikTok and I've started creating content, and I would never dream of setting up a YouTube channel because it's too much hard work, and I'm far too ugly for it. And I would never dream of setting up like a Twitch channel because, like, as far as I can tell, like you have to be like that scene from The Matrix where like all the code comes down when you're trying to set up like OBS and things like that. Whereas with TikTok, it's like, okay, so I get my phone out, I put it in front of me, I put a ring light on if I want, I push this button, it makes me look better looking. It allows me to do all these transitions and things, and I can put some cool music in the background. I can do 15-second videos. That's doable. They're not great, but they're something.
I think too, like just this next generation is just so comfortable as content creators because they've grown up with it around them. So it's even like we're able to pick it up, you and I, but like the younger kids pick like it's almost second nature to them. Like it's not even a thought and trying to figure it out. Like they can just do it intuitively, and that makes them so much better at creating content than I think anyone ever has been before.
Yeah, and they're starting to see, they have role models now. Like they more kids want to be YouTubers than they want to be astronauts. Like that's literally a survey thing that happened that is proven, and it is really fascinating to kind of see that. And I think yeah, it's just really interesting to see what it means for the future of work when you combine things like the gig economy and everybody being a creator. That's like now that I'm at the stage of like publishing this book and getting it out there, I'm starting to think about the next one. And like, the one that I'm really interested in is like, what does the future of work look like? And are we currently teaching people the right skills for a world where you're either going to be a freelancer, you're going to be working in the gig economy, or you're going to be a content creator of some sort, like, monetizing your niche.
Kind of on that note too, we talked about how TikTok has just accelerated. So it's got to where YouTube got to in a fraction of the time. And I think another byproduct of that is to kind of to your point is creators getting to the point of being businesses themselves on TikTok has just gone so much quicker than it did on YouTube. Like we look at YouTube was around for 7 years before Lauren Luke launched her makeup palette as the first beauty YouTuber with her own makeup line. And we're seeing kids like Josh Richards, Bryce Hall, not only do they have their own companies, they're also investing and they're doing all these things. And so how is that going to impact kind of just the creator economy as a whole with these kids that are becoming influencers now are understanding the business side of it so much better than people did when YouTube was kind of starting to take off?
I would hope that it gives them a better base to actually build a career. Like that is the hope. I mean, like my YouTube book was full of like sob stories of people who were taken advantage of by MCNs, and like the people who found the stress of trying to essentially be an entrepreneur. Like this is the thing that I think has changed for the good in recent years, is that we we kind of got rid of a bit of that use of the word influencer, which was really kind of cheapening and discrediting. But we also, and by replacing it with creator, we've kind of acknowledged that the on-camera stuff is only a small fraction of what people do now. Like when I was doing promo stuff for the YouTube book, I would always make clear when I was talking to people for interviews, um, to promote it, that if you think of these people, and there is an interesting thing in that the subtitle of the YouTube book is how YouTube shook up TV and created a new generation of stars, and it just kind of always sat uncomfortably with me because A, it's really long, but B, it's kind of a very old fashioned way of looking at things. And it was kind of foisted on me a little bit by the publisher because they thought that would be the most marketable way of doing it. But like, if you think of these creators as celebrities first, you are doing them a disservice. They aren't. They are celebrities because they're hugely popular, and they're popular because of their personalities. But they're not just celebrities. They don't just stand in front of a camera and talk. They're entrepreneurs first. And if I feel like we're getting that shift in sensibility now where we realize that is the case. Yeah, you ask most people now and they don't go like, yeah, oh, this content creator is just talking in front of camera. They go, this content creator is running a business, one part of which is talking in front of a camera, but the other parts are often, either because they're interested in it or because they've seen all of the stuff that happened with the adpocalypse and things like that on YouTube, and they realize that, you need lifeboats for this stuff. This can go away very, very quickly.
And I think another part of it too is as a community, it's more accepted now to try and make money. Like when I look back, like Philip DeFranco, when he first started monetizing and having sponsored on his videos, people were on him for selling out. And now it's like you do a brand deal and all your fans are commenting like money bags under your post because they're like encouraging you to try and make money from these platforms versus before it was really discouraged. So like these creators, even though they were entrepreneurs and they were trying to make money, they would be very quiet about doing so because they were worried about the reaction of the fans versus now you see people talking about all their other business endeavors all the time. So I think that's a positive shift that's happening as well.
Yeah, and I annoyed Casey Neistat once by writing a Bloomberg story, um, which was based on like a huge academic bit of research that looked at like I can't remember how many millions of YouTube channels it looked at, but basically it looked at kind of the distribution of views and shares and subscribers and things like that across YouTube, and it found that like the power was concentrated in the top 3%. And so for Bloomberg, I kind of took that and then looked at like the average CPM that you'd get for like, ads on videos at that time. And the headline was success on YouTube still means a life of poverty. And it was because it was something like 96.5% of people on YouTube at the time, based on that academic research, would not earn enough money to break through the US poverty line through their AdSense revenue alone. And obviously, it discounted a lot of the other streams of revenue that people would create. And I remember Casey did a video on it, and he was really nice about it. And I got a lot of hate from Casey fans because that's what happens on the internet when anybody mentions you with a big following is their fans become white knights and outriders and just give you death threats and things. And Casey very specifically said in his video, "Do not send this guy hate. People don't pay attention to that." And he kind of took exception to the framing of the article as people doing this for monetary gain. And I think this is really interesting because you kind of see this like there is absolutely a generational shift, I think, in how people approach content creation online. In that there are still absolutely people who do this for the love of creating content. They do it because they're creative people and they want to test their abilities to do interesting things in video or photos or anything like that. But the majority of people now are doing it because they've seen this guy's got a load of money and I want a load of money. And this is the way that I get a load of money. This is a job now. Um, and you're right, that has changed in that fans are much more willing to accept that. Whereas before, people who came along for the ride because you were creating cool stuff and you happened in the end to get money out of it when someone kind of tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey, your videos are good. Let's get you a Ford sponsorship." Um, that was kind of often a point of friction, whereas now that seems to me for the overwhelming majority of people to be the end goal. They want to make their bag and maybe not get out, but they just want to keep making their bag.
Is that problematic?
No, like that's capitalism. Like capitalism ruins everything. Like you go back to and again, like you can still find those people that are creating amazing stuff out there. Like one of my favorite creators, a guy who basically never posts anymore, is Taha Khan. He's like a good friend of the Greens, Hank and John Green, and he will like once every 6 months do a really interesting video that isn't really commercially interesting or anything like that. It's just creatively intriguing. And you see people doing that, but then you see people who are slaves to the algorithm now. And both sides are valid. Like, I'm not here to hate on people who want to make money. Like, you should make money. Like, I don't write for free, so you shouldn't necessarily create content for free. But also, if you want to create content for free and you want to create beautiful stuff that no algorithm is ever going to like, and a small community of 1,000 people who are really dedicated will like it, then do that. And that's the joy of like things like Patreon and all those different places, like all those different monetization options, is you are able to get super niche and super creative and still actually find a way maybe to support that financially.
One thing I want to jump back to, you mentioned with the kind of the tagline of the YouTube book, how it's replacing TV. But has YouTube now, kind of in 2021, has it almost become TV? I feel like you jump on the trending page on YouTube and there's 20 videos and 18 of them are Tonight Show videos. You know what I mean? So how does TikTok ensure that it doesn't go the way of YouTube and just become overcrowded with traditional celebrities jumping into the space?